Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Shared Space with Quita and Chap. I am Chaplain Lovelace, full-time volunteer chaplain through for the community through Baltimore City Police. I do not speak on behalf of the police department, thank God. Um, my partner Quita will be joining us shortly. And today's guest, we have Mosiah Fit. Just a little bit of background for me to share with you guys. Before we give Mosiah the mic. Mosiah Fit is a young man I met through the chaplain program. I I think that if you ask around the city, everybody knows him and everybody speaks highly of Mosiah. Reputation precedes you, brother. I've never heard anyone say anything bad, have anything bad to say about you. And when they did, you kind of question their context. Um, in my experience, Mosiah was a chaplain through the police department with us in the community, leader of the Black Wolves at Arch Social Club, owner and entrepreneur for Grandma Louise Pies, which he also led a mentorship program for young men through there. Man, a lot of great stuff going on in the community, Mosiah, and I think every Pan African event going on in Baltimore, you show up. You did the human RBG flag. So many things to talk about, and so many different amazing things that you're taking young men camping for camping experiences and teaching them how to swim, and like the list is just endless, brother. So it's let me just say up front, it's always been a privilege to follow you and see the things you're doing in the community, in my community, in our community. So welcome to the show, and if you just want to reintroduce yourself, the mic is yours, my brother.
I think you did it all. Thanks for the intro. Um, I'm just on here today to discuss mental health and leadership.
So excellent. I mean, that's excellent. I was kind of hoping we could talk about that. So, um, man, where do you want to begin? Because as a leader, hands down, you have the experience, you have the track record, you have the portfolio, and you have the community and children out there to speak for you. Right? You don't need to give us a resume because if you go down Pensy Ave and you go down Sandtown and anywhere in the city, those you have led can speak to your leadership. So I just like to say that to our audience is that definitely that's always what struck me, even in class, even in the classes we did together. Like you stood out as a leader. You asked the hard questions nobody wanted to ask. You spoke the truth that people wanted to tiptoe around. Always respected that about you. Um, even to a fault, the truth is always on the tip of your tongue. Like it or not, right? Um, and so you're also here to speak to the mental wellness, right? So as we're entering into the holidays, and it's a time of like, people reminded of loss, people reminded of family members who they've lost or are incarcerated, or there's a lot of negative pressures on our mental wellness at this time, right? So maybe you can speak to that, or where do you want to begin on the conversation?
So, is it a delay?
There may be a little bit of a delay for you. Looks like
All right, that's not going to affect anything.
no, sir. We can hear you fine.
Okay, okay. So, you know, um, coming with leadership, it brings a lot of stress, and depending on the person and their background, um, sometimes we hide things about ourselves. And I just I'm in a legal situation right now. For the first time in my life, I was arrested. I'm not going to go into details. My lawyer uh, advises me not to do that. But what I can discuss is stress, mental health, and leadership within our communities in the struggle. So I just want to give a little background. 2015, I got out of 2014, I got out of the military. Um, I served 3 years in the Army. The only reason why I got out was because my daughter died while I was serving. And I was married at that time. My daughter died in the NICU. She was born prematurely and she died from E. coli. Um, I went into depression. My wife and I both, actually, my former wife, and caused me to divorce, caused me to become homeless, and I started, doing some very bizarre things like sleeping in the woods and uh, climbing bridges and jumping in the zoo. Things people never known about me. All this has been reported and documented. The police department has found it. But a lot of bizarre behaviors. Um, all I can remember in the military is I was in special forces training, and I was exposed to uh, some training videos and things, and I had some nightmares after that, but not any kind of combat or anything like that. But come to find later on that you can actually get PTSD from non-combat related occurrences. Just by knowing someone died can be a PTSD for a person. I never knew that.
Wow.
So 2000, what were you saying?
No, well, since we're just real quick, I wanted to comment when you explained that there was a season in your depression where you're homeless. Um, I remember not seeing you for like 2 years, and I was like, my man's fell off the map. And then when we did meet again, it was at that little fake beach by the harbor, and you were with your son. And so I didn't know any of this had transpired, right? I just knew like I hadn't seen you for a while, and immediately when you shared with me at that time that you had experienced homelessness, and some of your narrative and how and how you survived through that, and you came up out of that as an entrepreneur even, and you really you turned that into a positive. One of the things I did personally was I reached out to our chaplain group, right, and our head chaplain, Pastor Matt Stevens at with BPD, and I said, hey, like, what's going on with our circle of communication? What's going on with our faith based leaders, such that one of our own chaplains could experience his homelessness, and no one reached out, and no one tried to help, and no one said, "What's going on? Where are you at?" Like, it really disturbed me, and it made me feel like a failure. But as a group of alleged faith-based leaders who are in the community, when one of our own is going through this, and we didn't have the relational equity to know it, we didn't have the intimacy for you to trust telling us or reaching out. All those things were a problem for me when our so-called program was supposed to be serving the community. So when I reached out to them and I was like, "Hey, what's going on? Why didn't no one say anything, or why didn't we know about this?" Instead of like addressing the problem and trying to trying to figure out a better way to communicate and do things, they kind of hit me back real cruddy, and they were like, "Well, who said we didn't reach out? Why would you assume we didn't reach out?" And I'm like, "Because one of our brothers experienced homelessness for 2 years, and nobody said even let's do a prayer request, like nothing." So during that time, I'll just share with you, that's my experience during that time when you had just shared your testimony with me. I immediately went back to our supposed support group, and I was like, "What happened with Mosiah? And why didn't we reach out and do something about it?" That's the whole point of us having this group of chaplains and faith based leaders in the community, is to uplift the community. And we weren't there for you, right? And we failed you. And they got defensive when I asked that question. Instead of saying, "What's he need now? Where's he at? How can we help?" They just got real defensive, and literally, like Pastor Matt texted me, he said, "Well, why would you assume we didn't reach out? Who told you that? What's kind of like." I didn't understand that at the time, but that was I just wanted to share that with me, because it made me think of that when you shared that in your depression you experienced homelessness for a short season.
Yeah. I'll say between 2015 up to 2019, I never had stable home. Even when I was organizing with the Black Wolf Youth Scouts, there's been months I was actually living in my van. And you can ask the supporters that volunteered their time, the leaders, if this is true or not. Brother Leon, Brother Jamal, Brother Bryant, they can confirm that I actually was living in my van. And so, like, I just say that to say you never know what even our so-called strong leaders. or people who can appear to be doing great things could be going through. Um, just to show people, you know, when I went to the VA, this was about 2 months ago, they showed me these documents, and basically these documents are from 2015, uh, that shows that I actually applied for disabilities I was having on here. It says sensitivity, anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, and sleep disorder. And I forgot completely that I actually put in a claim, and it says even homeless at the top. I
Mm.
forgot that I put in a claim with the military, when I got out. So leading up to that, I'll say the only thing that really got me grounded, that got me out of my psychosis or whatever you want to call it, was the Black struggle. Once I started studying people like Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, Harriet Tubman, Dr. Khalid Muhammad, and people like that, I really began to, I guess, say, have some inspiration, and also applied my military training to the Black struggle. If you understand, like the Black Panther Party, they were sort of military like, so I was able to relate to their struggle. So that sort of got me grounded, got me focused. um 2019 is when I started the business, the Grandma Louise Pies business. I was homeless at that time too, but as people know the story, I used to use my friend's kitchen to cook pies in the beginning, and then I would just walk the streets of Baltimore selling these pies. But Baltimore City is like a combat zone sometimes. It's like a third world country sometimes. And I don't think, I'm gonna be honest, I don't think nobody walks the street more than me, simply because that's what I did to pay my bills. I walked from East Baltimore to West Baltimore to North to South, on foot, just to sell my pies. That's how I paid my bills. I also had a lot of anxiety. I've never been a person really be able to keep a job long, because I just had a lot of anxiety, a lot of issues dealing with big crowds. So working for myself pretty much helped me keep the anxiety down, and the fact that I was constantly moving. Like I can't stay in one place for too long. I like to keep moving, which is another reason why being a chaplain works, because we're always moving. Especially when you do the community walks, it's constant movement. So things like that help me. But I still never got over a lot of the environmental things that I saw every day. Seeing Black communities swarm with drugs, constantly seeing young Black boys being arrested, constantly seeing young Black boys killing each other, the dilapidated community, no investment. Also seeing uh, downtown Baltimore being built, but then like right across the street, the Black community is terrible. So to me, it's like direct neglect. You know, um, and then understanding the history of America with slavery, and seeing like every single time Black people tried to build something powerful, it was terrorized. From Tulsa, Oklahoma, to what Marcus Garvey built, to the Black Panther Party, and many more successful things. It's like anything that becomes too powerful and Black, our government has destroyed it. And this is based on the books that I've read and the personal testimony of people who have lived during the civil rights era. So I think a lot of that has a lot to do with my depression. Um, when I got out of jail, I was in jail for the first time in May. Uh, I've had episodes where I've seen people, characters, and I would hear these characters, and that happened like as soon as I got out the military. But then for a little break, I didn't have that issue. Um, before I went to jail, I had that issue again. So 2000, I mean, in May, I went to jail, and my issues only got worse. My cellmate, his name was Dwayne Files. They wound up moving him to another state. He was trying to help me because I would be asking him like every day, do you hear that? Do you hear that orchestra like playing over and over? It was sounded like someone was playing orchestra music all day long. And then it started to get to the point where I would actually like hear dogs barking and people yelling. So I looked outside my cell, and there was actually a red beam like pointing at my cell. And I asked the COs, I said, "What is that?" And they always gave me an answer that they didn't know. So I felt like they were doing something to us inside of that cell. Um, in the mornings, my head, like around my head, felt like a heat wave. Like they were trying to fry my brain, like a heat wave every single morning. So I actually reached out to the psych unit, and the first time I went, they asked me like what was going on, did I have any other diagnoses? And I told them, but they said, well, basically we're not a facility to deal with people with mental health, so we'll just give you a whole bunch of different kinds of medicine and we'll see what works. Now I didn't like that because I felt like I was a lab rat, a guinea pig. And it definitely, I started taking some medication, but I would be so high, like I couldn't walk. I would get up, I would be stumbling. They were just giving me whatever. So my issues never got any better. And it got to the point where I was drawing pictures. Like I would be drawing pictures on my walls of basically people hanging, like hanging from a rope. And according to I have the manual here. According to the manual, it says in the mental health area, in the mental health form, it says if you are currently having thoughts of hurting yourself or others, or if you're aware of an inmate has demonstrated those thoughts, please notify any staff member immediately. Now, for like a whole month, these pictures, the COs, they were laughing at them. Uh, they would, some of them would just ignore them and
Mm,
smirk, and it was never reported. And I can remember like some of the names of those COs. So uh, I think like the next month, I think it was about the next month, it got so bad. I was putting tissue in my ear, like pushing it all the way in to try to stop the sounds, but it wasn't working. So it just became so unbearable. And I hate to share this, but it's the truth. I actually hung myself.
mm,
And they pulled me down, and obviously I went to the hospital. When I woke up, came back from the hospital, they put me in this suicide watch room. Now, they put me in this room naked, and the room had poop on the walls, poop on the floors, had poop everywhere. And I asked them, I begged them. One of the officers' name was Winchester. I said, please, can you get me the social work? I need to be put in a better room than this. This room is driving me nuts. And when they came and talked to me, she said, well, if we had a better budget, we could put you in a better room. And then she basically just turned around, closed the door in my face. So my issues were getting worse in that room. And it got so bad to the point where they claimed that I pulled the camera off the wall. So I got a charge from from the jail for destruction of property. And at the bottom of this form, it says not available to sign due to mental state. But they still charged me $1,000 for it while I was under suicide watch.
mm,
So um they actually even neglected me how I ate, because I have a gluten-free and I'm vegan, and I put in a request because I even kept my request forms. Uh can I have the gluten-free diet? And they actually wrote, you will get what we give you. This is not a radio station. We don't take requests. But on the and I'm glad I kept my manual because if it backs up what what I'm claiming. Um on the 22nd page of the manual, it says an inmate may request a special diet due to medical, dental, or religious reasons. And I'm telling them I'm allergic, I can't eat this kind of food, and they still wind up telling me this is not a radio station, you'll get what we give you. So, with all of this being said, it got so bad in that jail. Even the CO came to me. His name was uh I can't remember his name. I wrote it down, but this one CO, he came to me in suicide watch, and he was like, I told my supervisors about your pictures, but they told me whatever, don't worry about it. Right? So the warden, he even came to my cell, and he came to my cell with like four captains. And these captains, they were just staring at me like I was a piece of meat. And the warden, his name Daniel Galbraith, he says, I just want to make sure you don't cause us any more problems. And then I'll pass the word down the ranks. And I'm like, I don't want to cause any problems in here, warden. So it got so bad that my lawyer asked the judge to give me bail because of cruel and unusual punishment, and they actually gave me bail. So that's really the only reason why I'm out here right now, is because my mental health and how the jail is treating me. Um, I wind up getting diagnosis. I have a diagnosis from Shepherd Pratt. I went to Shepherd Pratt. They said I have PTSD, major depression, and schizoaffective disorder. So, for the first time in my life, I'm taking medication. Never took medication before. Uh, I'm also a patient at the VA, as a veteran, and the therapy is good. I appreciate being able to express how I've been feeling, but you know, um, it's like it's just unfortunate that my mental health had to get so bad to the point where I had to go through all of this, and now the VA is actually following up with my claim that I put in 2015.
Mm.
So all I say, I just say all this to say that there may be other people who are in the position of leadership, and you don't really know what they're going through. And it's important that when we know we're dealing with things, that we get it handled and treated immediately, because you never know how far it can go. Um, you know, worrying about how people look at you or what people will think about you. Um, I really don't care about the judgment anymore. I just try to keep my my energy up. I try to stay as positive as I can. I try not to get so much into the depression. I have a son. Um, I was actually abused as a child as well. Uh, and I try not to put that same abuse on my own child. So, mental health is a serious thing. Um, I would say, especially within the Black community, because we are a people who have endured chattel slavery for almost 400 years, and then we basically just was told just to go work, but we never had any kind of mental rehabilitation for, I mean, the gruesome things that we experienced. You're talking about a people who literally was divided by their families. Like, I'm I'm from Maryland. Like, what does that mean? You know what I'm saying? I I know that my family has to come from someplace other than Maryland, because Maryland was a colonized state. I don't even know where I'm really from because of slavery. So it's like we haven't even been able to heal. We haven't even been able to to deal with the trauma. It's been studied that trauma can be passed down from a mother into her child.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I mean, just think of the generations of people who have been buck broken, the breeding farms. It was so bad in America where they no longer had to import slaves. They were able to breed slaves to the point where they didn't even need to import slaves anymore. So, black folk really don't give themselves enough credit for their perseverance and their strength, because for us to still even be here on this planet in America is just amazing, you know, just absolutely amazing. So, I just say all to say I'm still fighting. I'm still struggling. I'm still trying to go through this legal procedure. I have an evaluation for not criminally responsible from a doctor, and I don't know what that's going to go like, but I'm going to just be honest with her and tell her everything that I've been going through. But that's this week, and I wasn't able to afford a private forensics doctor because they're like $6,000, and I wasn't able to afford that. But I'm just still trying to stay positive as much as I can, and just share my story with people.
No, so first of all, bro, like I can't even like just right off the tip of my tongue, man. I'm so grateful for your courage to be vulnerable, to get on the show and just share your truth, because it's not for everybody. Um, and so I just, I can't really articulate what how meaningful it is to me, and to the people who are listening right now that you're willing to share that truth. As a formidable leader in the community, you experience these things, and where a lot of us didn't even notice. And so it's so important to pay for us to pay attention, um, because the message you have beyond your personal struggle, and I think your personal struggle and your personal testimony right now will help shine the light on the other things that you stand for, because you stand for so much, man. And I will say, I will sum it up in one word, and like, you stand for the truth, right? Everything you've ever done that I've ever seen and my experience, and this is my truth and my perception of you, is that you've always stood aggressively on the truth, and it frightened people, right? Because you were empowered by the truth. And so, um, as you share your truth with and your experience with the mental health things, where it led you, and where you're going now, and as you're coping with it, like, it's all important, and it's all narrative. It needs to be shared. But I just appreciate your courage, your transparency, because you never know who else it's going to help. And then as you reflect on these things and you share, and people are paying attention now to what's going on with you, it also helps you share your other messages that you have, like the other things that you've been working on for so long, the things you've been studying about. And you spoke about Tulsa, and you speak about, like, you're very well informed on many things. And like, part of that is look around Pensy Ave where you serve, look around Arch Social Club. And Pensy Ave used to be Black Wall Street in Baltimore. And as you already spoke to it, look what the society does when something is thriving in a black community, right? If you look at it now, you wouldn't recognize it 100 years later from what it was in the 20s and the 40s and even the 50s and 60s. Um, so I just a couple of things going on there, man. I just really appreciate your time and you sharing some of your truth with us, and I think some people, like, I'll share with you that for me, um, when I discovered, or whatever, the things you were going through, I was I was ashamed that we weren't paying closer attention. I was not surprised, because I see the things the work that you do. I see the depth that you go for that work, for that information, for sharing it with our young people, because you understand, like, our knowledge not shared is knowledge lost. And the wisdom you apply to what you do. I'll share with you one thing I always like to tell people when if they ask about Mosiah Fit, right? Is is one of my memories, is with the Black Wolves, and you had those commitment cards, right? And it had some rules on there saying, like, some of the it said like I will not sell drugs in front of elderly people. I wouldn't sell drugs to children or pregnant women,
Yeah.
right? So like I love the shit out of that, bro. Like part of my language, but it makes sense if you're in the community and you really know what's going on in Baltimore. That makes perfect sense, right? But to the people sitting on the sidelines or behind their church walls, they shamed you for that, and they said, well, what is he supporting? Is he supporting drug dealing in Baltimore? Like, no, of course not. But like they didn't understand. Like if you can have young, you're not in there pointing a finger at them saying like stop selling drugs, this or that, right? You're meeting them where they're at in their space, and you're changing the way they think, right? And for me, if you had come up to me in my as a teenager in the '90s, where I was doing similar behavior, had you given me that card, I would have taken the card and I would have been like, why shouldn't I sell in front of elderly people? Why shouldn't I sell to pregnant women? Why shouldn't I sell to children? Right? But it would get my own wheels turning, and you have now empowered me to change my own life with a simple thought or an idea. And so that's the power behind it's kind of the wisdom of the way that you do some of the things that you do in the community, man. And so, um, I don't know what the future holds for you, but I know that sharing this out here, hopefully we can gain more support. And people that know me, um, I look up to Mosiah as a young man. Like I look up to him even now, um, because he's willing to come on here and share something that's very makes him very vulnerable, but it's his truth. And so as you move forward this week, I like you already said it, like the best thing, the only thing you know how to do is be honest. And I think that truth has carried you this far, and your story is far from over, bro. And I'm so glad that you were unsuccessful in your effort to hang yourself in jail, man. And I just I just want you to know, like, my tribe over here, whatever you need, we'll share that need, whatever is going on, whatever support you reveal to us. I hope that our tribe over here will come around that, and just give you whatever you need to be successful to keep moving forward. Um, there may be people ahead of you, where you're going ahead of you, that need your truth, and they obviously they need you, because that's where your journey's taking you. So, um, man, I'm
Yeah.
I'm grateful. I'm grateful for you sharing, man. I think that I like I said, I didn't want to jump right on you and reach out and um, with everything going on. I wanted to be respectful of your space. I wanted to be respectful of you. I didn't want to bring you on to talk about anything you didn't want to talk about. And the things you shared are like very significant. They're very deep. They're very meaningful, and they're very sad, man. Like they speak to a bigger narrative, a bigger picture. And I think everyone here that's like on the show watching right now, like people keep tuning in. And I'm pretty sure people are kind of saying like, listen to this man's story, because it's significant, and it's not. You're not the only one. You're not alone. But I think people who haven't experienced these things are quite surprised at how people get treated in those facilities, how people get treated with mental illness, who are struggling with mental illnesses, um, the conditions that actually just perpetuate and make it worse, right? Like if like you shared, like for me, um, when you shared about being on suicide watch, and I've been in Hickey and seen some of the kids there, and it's you're already traumatized to the point where you're desperate and you don't know what else to do. So they put you in a space that traumatizes you more. And then they treat you in a way that traumatizes you more. And it's just not acceptable. Right. And so saving those documents and speaking up about it. And thank God, I don't know how to put this without it sounding wrong, but thank God it happened to someone like you, because you the dude that's going to shout from the mountaintops. You don't let stuff go. You hold people accountable. You stand so firmly on the truth, and you're so empowered by just the truth, man. That's what I always come back to when I think of you, is like straight up, bro. Like you and I'm the same way. Like I'm the same way when you described about how you can't sit still. You can't sit in the same job. I don't think I've had a job for 5 years. I was in the military as well, and I got a other than honorable, um, and a lot of it had to do with like working under or for people who had no integrity, right? Like I couldn't stand to be under someone who was not accountable to their own actions, and it just disgusted me when I see people who are not accountable to their own stuff. It's like, and you get criminalized for it, and you get put down for it. Um, but eventually, you make it past that hump to where now you understand how to navigate those feelings and that stuff. But Quita has
Yeah.
joined us, so I want to bring her on real quick. Um, Laquita Chainsey, how are you?
I am doing well. I am doing well. My voice might sound a little crazy. I don't know where she went, but I am fine. I don't have COVID or the flu. I'm glad to see that Mo is back out and on hanging out with us and able to talk to folks. I'm sorry to hear about your experience, and in some unfortunate ways, I feel like a lot of us knew that these things existed, but more importantly, you having the resilience, the foresight just to document things like that means so much because unfortunately, you just saying these are the things that happen for some reason isn't enough. So kudos to you and thank you for always being available and speaking truth to power because that is difficult. Like, that is a heavy burden when people are saying other things and you're the only one that's like, no, this is what the truth is. So, again, kudos, Mo. I really appreciate you. Thank you, chat. Oh, and by the way,
You're
y'all,
welcome. Thank you.
I'm Laquita Chansey, the founder and director of Small to More Homes, and we build micro shelters and tiny homes for folks who are unhoused. And homelessness is a real thing, and sleeping in public is illegal. So folks who are unhoused or experiencing housing insecurity are often targeted and marginalized, and so all of this kind of relates. So, thank you for bringing me into the conversation, Chapo.
Hmm. Absolutely. So I don't know how much you
Yeah.
caught of it either, but and I'd like to give the mic back to Mosiah, but he was speaking to some of the other things we talk about on the show about the struggle our communities as a whole, and like I'm perceived as white, and so I'll never say that I was I've I can never completely relate. But I've been the white boy in the black community, and I have mixed sons who identify as black, and so to that point, as I was speaking, is that I have to remind them like your origin story doesn't begin with slavery. Like the people they brought over here came from somewhere, and they were people and a community, and much more than just slaves. And so for my sons, we have to intentionally articulate that because otherwise society here would teach you like, oh, good for you, you rised out of slavery. Like, no, no.
Yeah.
Let me come off
Um,
mute. Oh, go
so
ahead.
the Mer so the Maryland Justice Project, they have been giving me a lot of support. Monica Cooper is her name. She's the founder. She has been helping me big time. Her and Miss Gwen Levi. Miss Gwen did 16 years and got out. Um, Baltimore mayor made a big deal because I think they had like sent her back to jail for missing a phone call or something by accident. But they fought for her, and then she got released again. She's all over on the news. Just look up Gwen Levi. She was on the Steve Harvey show. So I work very closely with her, and just I was just so shocked and surprised. Even at my bail hearing, um, I had so many people there. It wasn't enough seats in the courtroom, and I mean the court at least had like 30 seats or something. I didn't know at that time because I was under so much heavy medication. I didn't know what was going on, but I heard it was. I saw it was so many people there. So I'm just very grateful for this community love that I had been receiving from people. Um, right, I had a fundraiser, legal defense fundraiser about 2 or 3 weeks ago at I think it's called Goldie Seafood, and we were trying to raise the 6,000 for the forensics doctor for NCR. Didn't get anywhere close to it, but I just appreciate everyone that has continued to donate, as they have. I can't hear anything.
No, no, no. We weren't talking. We were just really just hearing what you said. The fact that one, you are responsible for proving that these things are true. Like, why? No, there should be some sort of investigation. Like, the way the system is set up is just so triggering and angering. So again, like your resilience and your ability to keep pushing through and keep pushing forward is necessary. And that's why you have so much support for community, because you've done the work that needed to be done so that people feel confident in supporting you. So what is the next step, Messiah? What is another way that we can support? Like, I know you said you had the fundraiser and you didn't come close to your goal. Are you still accepting donations? Is that still an option? How can people tune in, tap in and help out?
Yeah, so if people want, they can write a check out to my name, Mosiah Fit, and send it to my lawyer. Her name is Karen Jones. She's in Bel Air, Maryland. You could just look her up on Google. Karen, Karen Jones, Jones. And you can send it to her office, or you can send a Cash App donation to money sign legal defense 365.
And so the money, so the Cash App dollar, um, 365. What? Say it again. Money 365.
Dollars $sign legal defense 365.
Legal defense 365. And then when okay, and that'll benefit you or a whole class of folks.
No, it benefit specifically my case.
Perfect. 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 There we go. There's the M legal defense.
Yeah, it's Defense. I think he added a D in there by mistake.
I did. I'll get it. I'll get it cleaned up there. All right. Legal defense.
So two ways to support. The goal is 6,000. We got a ways to go.
There it is.
All right, there we
All
go.
right.
There we go. Yep. Perfect. And Karen Jones, you said is in Bel Air, Maryland area.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
So I had a question. What is happening right now with Grandma Louise pies? Are we still is that still going on? Or are you guys on pause?
It's on pause. Unfortunately, I was really like the only one making these pies. I tried to give people employment opportunities, and they really didn't seem to catch on. So um, I just haven't been in the mind frame to really work the business right now.
Understood. So I'd like to speak to that too because for a very short season I was a director over at Center for Urban Families with same group of young men that you would be reaching out to with your entrepreneur mentorship through the business. And one thing I discovered from my experience was that um, everything that you had to offer, some of the high school age kids there didn't wouldn't have had a capacity to even receive what you're offering, right? And I think that's probably like it's discouraging, right? Like you come into a space, you have so much to offer. It's your neighborhood. You want others, you want the youth in your neighborhood to thrive, and when they just don't get it, right? When they just don't even have a capacity to receive what you're giving them, it's very discouraging. And so, speaking back and all the way up to the beginning of the show, when you're talking about being a leader and dealing with depression, you know, we have to get these young people, we have to condition them and groom them to a place where they can receive the next thing, right? Like Quita teaches trade skills over in Pigtown. And, I'd love to start getting some of our youth out on sets with me doing the background work on film and stuff because the film industry is coming in. and you introducing them to either baking or selling pies consignment, and the different intuitive ways you were trying to build entrepreneurship with the work that you do. It takes a unique person to even do that, Mosiah. Someone like you yourself is very unique, and so um, I think we can't just expect the young people, as we serve them in different capacities, to even want to take hold of what we have to offer without preparing them, right? Like they just don't have a capacity. If we give it to them, they're not ready to receive the whole thing yet, right? So like I think that's something as leadership in the community we really need to work on, is like how do we oh, very good. Thank you, Val. Um, but how do we even prepare the youth to receive the next level? How do we help them level up, right? Because the schools are failing them, if they're even going to school at this point, because there's no accountability. Um, where do we even begin? And so it's another conversation, of course. But again, like with your coming on the show and sharing it and shining light on these thoughts and these ideas and inspiring more ideas, is just really important, that we continue to speak our truth. Mosiah Fit is one of the sharpest dudes I know out here in the city. Um, he's just highly intelligent, highly motivated. I look forward to your success, and you processing whatever the next steps are. Just reach out to myself, Quita, people listening. People listening. You guys can, of course, most of you have my information. If you want to get plugged in like Val, just hit me up, and we'll get connected with whatever needs need to be met. But I just want to show love and support in the appropriate capacity, right? Whatever that looks like, Mosiah. So I appreciate you being on the show. I appreciate you sharing your truth with us. And I expect great things, because like God doesn't put you through a refining process like this without having greatness ahead of you. And many of us, if you've ever met Mosiah, you've already seen the greatness. And I pray that God's refining you, and that you can receive those lessons to receive that greatness He has in store for you, brother. Because I just I can't speak enough about you. So I appreciate you today.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
I just
any
want to
last
say
words?
to the
Yeah.
people that when I was in Shepherd Pratt, I've always felt like Shepherd Pratt was a place for like people who just wore gowns and drooled and ran into walls all day. But when I went to Shepherd Pratt, I mean, I can let you know it was modern. You had a nice room. You wore your own clothes, and the food was good. But it was really the being around other patients, people who are struggling, going through mental issues, not just Black people, white people, Asian people, and having those one-on-one conversations with other people with mental health. It helped me so much, and I'm telling you, I'm almost was like, I'm glad I came here, because I don't think I've ever would have had this perspective or this
Mm,
understanding about mental health if I never went to Shepherd Pratt. So I say for anyone who is actually right now going through some mental crisis, and you feel like you can't hold on, check yourself into Shepherd Pratt, because they're going to take good care of you, and you're not going to be treated like some zombie. You're going to be treated like a human being, and the staff there are excellent.
I think that's a great point that you made, about speaking about mental health and then not being judgmental. Because, like you said, you had these preconceived notions about the people that would be there. But then you got there and you were like, oh my God, these people are a lot like me. Like, we can actually have conversations, we can actually relate. And that's the idea. Like, everybody needs mental health help and wellness and a check-in. Everybody experiences depression or sadness at some point, anxiety. Like, all of these things are daily, and for some people they're consistent, and that's why it becomes an issue. So even speaking about the mental health aspect, like, that's something that we don't usually talk about in our community. Like, I remember growing up, and I think it was like Mariah Carey or something, like had a mental health issue. And we were like, oh, those are white people problems. And I'm like, wait, Mariah Carey is white? Like it just didn't make sense to me. I'm like, this lady looked like, as brown as my sister is, but those are white people problems? Like, no, we should be getting mental health help and mental health and having those mental health discussions as well. I think that's one of the best ways that we heal is to continue to talk about these things. So thank you for elevating that too, Messiah, because it's not something that's common in our community. Like you talking about Shepherd Pratt and then suggesting that people go there. Like I know folks are crossing their eyes looking at this computer screen, but if you can speak to what your issue is and give a thing a name and be able to express yourself. I'm feeling anxious about, I'm feeling frustrated about. Everything isn't always anger. And so if you can distinguish between those, I think that's really helpful. And so that's great advice. I love that. You're like, go to Shepherd Pratt, go check yourself in, get a little checkup. Like folks are going to treat you well and the food is good. So thank you for that, Mo.
You welcome.
Well, look, I'm not it, but who wants the last word? Because y'all, you said it all today, man. I again just greatly appreciate your time, Mosiah. Appreciate your courage to be transparent, and vulnerable. All of those things I admire you for. So thank you. But yeah, if either you or Laquita want to take us out with a last word, we'll get out the way for the next show.
Thank you for keeping this platform for the people. I really, I'm lost for words about how amazing this is, how this reaches out and spreads the word out to people and gets people's stories out there. I mean, this is powerful. Keep it up. Don't ever quit.
Thank you for that. Right. I accept and challenge accepted, right? Like Chap and I are gonna keep doing this.
I
But
accept the
making
mission because
space.
look,
Go ahead.
I'm just going to share, man. Mosiah, I'm going to share with you, man. I appreciate that word of encouragement because I have like it's opportunities I've come to shut it down and so um, or to take a step back, and so I appreciate that encouragement because it's exactly why we decided not to. It's bigger than us. It's bigger than it's for the people, man. So thank you for that encouragement.
But also like
I was
it's
very
sharing space.
touched.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was very touched the last time I saw your show. I saw a bunch of youth, and that right there just said yes. They're heading in the right direction.
Amen.
We hold space for everybody. All the voices matter. All of them are a part of the tribe. It's what makes the community better. And listening to folks because everybody has a different perspective. So your experience, your story, your testimony, it matters. And shared space, I think we continue to show people that, like, regardless of how refined it is and how long you've been thinking about it, like, come and share space, open up to the community because I'm sure somebody's willing to help you or reach out and give you a resource or whatever that may be. So, yeah, like just plug in Mondays, 7 p.m. Why was I about to say 7 a.m.? That's crazy. Monday, 7 p.m., shared space, Laquita Chansey with my guy, Chap O. And Chap, you got anything exciting coming up?
Yes. So, yeah, I guess we'll take the time to do that real quick. So, mid December, we have a Breadcoin interest meeting. So, breadcoin.org, if you're not familiar with the program, please check out the website, reach out to me for more information. We need more restaurant partners in our neighborhoods. The more restaurant partners we have, the more neighborhoods we can feed with our donations. We need more donations. But we'll let somebody else worry about that because we're out here feeding people. So get us some restaurant vendors. If you need the resource, people that need some food, man, just hit us up. We'll point you in the right direction. Mid December, December 16th, I think is a date. I'll be sending out emails to people I know and to the tribe. So guys, come through, get information about Breadcoin, see how you can plug in and help not just feed the community, but support our local business partners.
Okay, and last thing, chat. We just did our last wellness walk at Lake Montebello, so we will be back in the spring. What is going on at Agogi?
Yeah, so I didn't even get to share with Mosiah yet. So in Bel Air Edison, we have a Gogi project, which is a boxing gym and mixed martial arts gym. So we teach after school program between 4 and 8:30. We have free boxing and jujitsu and mixed martial arts for the children, 17 and under. The first hour of training is academics, tutoring, homework assistance, and we teach them Spanish. And then they go into the jujitsu. They hit the mat, and then they go in the ring and hits and learn some boxing skills. So all these things are free to the youth. And on Sunday mornings, Saturdays we have Saturdays is 8 to 2. We have adult classes from 6:30 to 8. We have adult classes Saturday from like 12:30 to 2. And then 8 a.m. at the gym is adult classes, more casual intro or like beginners class. Um, so the address for the gym is 3205 Bel Air Road. Please stop through, meet the staff, meet the crew, feel the energy, man. When you walk in there, there's a tangible energy of positivity that we're pouring into the community there. So join us, hit the mat with us, put the gloves on with us, whatever it takes to empower our youth, man. Thank you.
Send me the info, please.
I'm going to do it as soon as we get off of here, brother. You got it. Love you, man. Love you both.
Sister Val, I love you. I appreciate everything you've done consistently within the community. I thank you for believing in me, and I thank you for the donation.
Yep.
Love y'all bunches. Thanks for coming out. God bless and good night. We will see y'all next week. Stay out of trouble.